Hello, HD Popcorn here. Today, I'm going to clarify an Australian science fiction film called 2067. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and fare thee well. Before that, don't forget to grab your popcorn to watch this movie. The reason the film is set in 2067, when the world has been obliterated past restoration on account of environmental change. All vegetation has been wiped out. With the absence of vegetation, the sum of oxygen noticeable all around has diminished dramatically. Individuals need to purchase counterfeit oxygen to endure. Close to 100% of the world has gone dull. Individuals choke to death. In such conditions, just a single city in Australia has endured, and it are all gratitude to an organization called the Chronic Earth Company that makes manufactured oxygen. Be that as it may, fake oxygen causes a lethal illness brought the infections after some time. Humanity has only a short time before it goes completely wiped out. Ethan White is an inhabitant of the Australian city. He and his companion, Jude, functions as mechanics in the Chronic Earth Enterprise. The Enterprise is additionally working day and night to discover a remedy for the afflictions, also an approach to save the world. Ethan's significant other, Xanth, additionally has the disorder. Ethan buckles down day also, night to acquire and get her better oxygen. At some point, as Ethan and Jude work in the passage, the Chronic Earth CTO of Molecule Research, Regina Jackson, brings them to her office. There, she acquaints herself with the two, furthermore, reveals to them that humankind will bite the dust in a couple of years if the conditions don't change. She then, at that point, uncovers that Ethan is the one to focus on who can help everybody and save mankind. Ethan is confounded and doesn't trust her. However, Regina demands he visit their lab. The lab has gigantic apparatus. The lab specialist named Billy Mitchell acquaints himself with Ethan, also takes a gander at Ethan's wrist gadget briefly. They then, at that point, disclose to him that Ethan's dad, Dr. Richard White, began this undertaking 20 years prior. The machine that stands before them is a time machine called the Chronicle. In the very first test finished with the machine, they needed to send radio waves into it to take a look at what was on the opposite side. They found out through it that 407 years after the fact, in 2474, the Earth would have sufficient vegetation to keep up with enough oxygen noticeable all around and support human existence. Individuals come to accept that, if humankind still exists a few hundred years after the fact, they have likely discovered arrangements to every one of the issues tormenting their world. In any case, an odd movement bewildered the researchers there. The waves they sent had returned improved. At the point when they decided it, they discovered that somebody from the future had sent them the message saying, "Send Ethan White." So presently, Regina and the entire group need to send Ethan into the future for him to bring back the fix. Ethan is past astounded. He doesn't accept them and thinks that Regina is simply feigning. Besides, he would not like to leave his wiped-out spouse also go into what's to come. Thus, he decreases to help. Later, Ethan and Jude are at a cafe where they purchase fresh oxygen. Jude attempts to convince Ethan to proceed with the arrangement and assist with saving humankind. Nonetheless, Ethan chuckles at him, saying that he doesn't have any desire to resemble his dad. Ethan despises his dad for never being there for him. 20 years prior, his dad ventured out from home and went missing, while his mom was killed when he was a child. From that point forward, he has been brought up by Jude, a man whom Ethan sees as his more established sibling, just as the closest companion. He faults him for passing on his mom to complete the undertaking and doesn't have any desire to follow in his way and leave his wiped-out spouse. Nonetheless, Jude figures out how to convince him, saying that the main way he can save his significant other is by discovering a fix. Ethan thinks back of his 8th birthday celebration when his dad has gotten him a weird box as a gift. As he puts his hands inside the case, a gadget locks onto his wrist, making his drain. Richard had put an extremely durable hand gadget on his child. It has been numerous for a long time. Ethan doesn't have a clue about its utilization yet. Later at home, Ethan discloses to Xanth all that occurred during the day, and she also demands he go. The next morning, Ethan copyists, "I will discover my direction back to you" on a metal bloom. What's more, leaves it close to Xanth. He then, at that point, goes to Regina's office again and discloses to her that on the off chance that he can discover just one fix, they should give it first to Xanth. Regina acknowledges and takes him to the lab once more. Dr. Mitchell shows him the suit that he needs to wear it before getting into the machine. As they disclose the mission to him, Ethan understands that they don't have an arrangement. They do not know what he will see, or then again who he will meet at the opposite end. Be that as it may, after they put him in the suit, they give him an AI gadget called the Archie. Archie will show the lab Ethan's vitals consistently. It will likewise assist with exploring his area. Then, at that point, they at long last toss him into the machine. Inside, Ethan moves fast through time. He falls from the sky and grounds in an obscure wilderness. The grinding from the air makes his suit get fire, so he rapidly receives in return. Then, at that point, he looks around and is surprised by the excellence of nature. He tracks down that the world has changed. The trees and the regular oxygen are back. He strolls toward the path Archie guides him and sees a fortification entryway or something to that effect. Yet, what gets his eyes is a skeleton that falsehoods directly in front of the entryway. Its skull has a shot opening in it. Besides, he takes a gander at the ID on it and is shocked to see his name. The skeleton is Ethan's. Ethan additionally discovers the skeleton's Archie, furthermore, plays the keep going recording on it. He hears a man say that this is the main way and shoots Ethan. All of a sudden, the gadget's force goes off. He is frightened, accepting that this is the destiny that anticipates him. Then, at that point, he sees the skeleton's wrist device. It is indistinguishable from Ethan's, except the light sparkles green in the skeleton's gadget. In any case, Ethan's has been red his entire life. That evening, he gets a fire going and eats wild berries. Incidentally, the berries were noxious. Ethan regurgitates and starts to go oblivious. Ethan awakens sooner or later, what's more, is amazed to see Jude before him. Things being what they are, the lab saw Ethan's vitals dropping and accepted he was having a response to harm. In this way, they immediately sent Jude to the future with the fix to save him. In a little while, Ethan and Jude find that his skeleton stays there, which implies his destiny hasn't changed. They then, at that point, use Archie to discover another entryway. Some gadget checks Ethan's eyes and awards them access. At the point when they go in, a screen invites him. It asks him for a DNA test. At the point when he acknowledges it, his wrist gadget starts to work, making he drains. After the blood test, it makes strides toward environmental friendliness. The lights to the room turn on, and they understand that they are in Chronikerp's lab, 407 years afterwards. The time machine is before them as well. Jude gets invigorated because now they have the means to return to the past. However, Ethan doesn't think along these lines, saying they haven't transformed anything and he will wind up dead, like the dead Ethan. Ethan checks the framework log and finds a holographic recording made by his dad, who clarifies that the time machine was initially intended to gather the oxygen information later on the planet and afterwards communicate it back to the past. In any case, when his dad initially began the time machine, he got a message requesting that he send his child to what's to come. Notwithstanding his doubts, he decided to do as such and made a DNA check here for Ethan. Before long, Ethan and Jude understand that the time the machine will not have the option to take them back since its battery has nearly drained after 407 years. What's more awful is that the initiation of the lab triggers a glitch in its atomic the force center, taking steps to release an atomic blast in only 4 hours. This implies they need to figure out how to fix the time machine and go back before the blast. Running out of time, they need to act rapidly. Outside, they are shocked to track down a destroyed city covered with green plants, yet occupied without any people, showing that Earth begins to recuperate itself after human eradication. Human skeletons are dissipated all over. Ethan gets to his better half's home, as it were, to discover her bones, making him fall into despair. Jude attempts to convince him to return to the past, as the fix against the affliction doesn't appear to exist even later on in the world. In any case, Jude's words make Ethan dubious. He then, at that point, turns on the corroded Archie to play the recording indeed, from which he perceives Jude's voice, and it appears Jude is the one who shot him. Jude raises his weapon at Ethan, firmly rejecting that he would shoot Ethan. Ethan at last chooses to finish the mission first, so with joint endeavors, they figure out how to fix the force center and afterwards return to the lab. Presently the accounting framework works, and they ought to have the option to get back to the past. They simply need to stand by 37 minutes till entrance dispatch. Once the commencement arrives at nothing, the entrance will tie to 2067 for roughly 30 seconds. In any case, Ethan discovers his body stays behind an entryway at a similar area, which suggests that they haven't rolled out any improvements to what's to come. To sort out reality, Ethan pulls out the battery of his present Archie and puts it onto the corroded one. In that manner, he gains admittance to another video where Ethan is guaranteed that his future self will be killed by Jude. Jude then, At that point admits that there is no expectation of changing the future and he is attempting to secure Ethan. Finding it difficult to accept, Ethan secures his sibling up a room then, at that point plays back his dad's holographic log from the day he kicked the bucket. He before long finds a discussion between the Chronicorp's CTO, Regina Jackson, and his dad. It's shown that Ethan's dad needed to utilize the time machine to save all humanity by discovering the fix, yet the CTO simply expected to utilize the machine to escape from the withering time with some picked not many. In any case, whichever plan they pick, somebody should go into the future and turn on the time machine. To securely send living matter through time, it requires a functional connection from the two sides. To stop the CTO with her arrangement, his dad locks the time machine and sets Ethan's DNA as the confirmation key. Out of frustration at what Ethan's father recently did, the CTO killed him right away. She then, at that point, orders Jude to kill Ethan's mom and be a watchman to him, so one day they can utilize Ethan's wristband to gain admittance to what's to come. Ethan is past astonished. The man he considered as his sibling ended up being the person who killed his mom also is going to kill him as well. He additionally figures it out that he has misjudged his dad, who didn't purposely forsake the family. Realizing that Regina needs to bring a pick not many into what's to come, Ethan attempts to close the time machine down. However, Jude hurries to stop Ethan and uncovers that he's entrusted here by the CTO to guarantee that Ethan is sent on schedule to fix the forced disappointment. When Ethan enacts the time machine, he should kill Ethan. Be that as it may, Jude has framed close passionate relations with Ethan throughout the long term. Seeing his sibling-like companion in that state as a result of him, he is culpability-ridden. Thus, all things being equal of shooting Ethan, he shoots himself dead. In fury and lament, not set in stone, to satisfy his dad's withering desire, which is to discover the fix and save the perishing people. He investigates the screen and finds the absolute first message compassed by his dad. He derives that the message sent Ethan White was sent without help from anyone else. Subsequently, he comes in the message again and sends it into the past, alongside numerous different things. In the meantime, in the lab of the year 2067, the CTO with a gathering of special picked individuals are standing by tensely for the time machine to be actuated. To their shock, notwithstanding, the time machine sends back many terminated plants alongside a duplicate of the recorded homicide of Ethan's dad. Before long after, the time machine is annihilated by Ethan, bringing about the breakdown of the CTO's arrangement. And eventually, the CTO is captured because of the homicide. The plants sent back to 2067 are developed to revive the planet. Ethan's better half additionally gets a rose sent from him and comprehends his decision. While Ethan needs to remain later on the world alone, he covers Jude and excuses him. A butterfly grabs his eye and leads him again to the same passage, where Ethan is glad to see that the body of his future self has gone. He surges to investigate the world outside and feels eased to see an advanced eco-accommodating city as opposed to the abandoned one from before. The choice had changed the eventual fate of humankind. Buy in for additional recordings like this, turn on notices, and leave the same to take care of the channel. Much thanks to you for watching.